Good morning. I'm Pastor A.R. Bernard of the Christian Cultural Center, and we just want to welcome you to our house. And I don't know how many funerals you've been to that break out in songs of praise and celebration, but it's our orientation, because with the resurrection of Jesus Christ, he changed the game. So instead of understanding life as life to death, we understand as death to life. So today, we celebrate the life of our dear brother, Ken Thompson, a spiritual son for 20 years that I loved, cared for deeply. So to all of the clergy in the house, political officials, and I won't go down a list of names, please forgive me, I don't want to miss anyone, but we welcome you and we thank you for being here.
I bring you condolences from the Department of Justice family, all of us who share in your sorrow and in your grief. And I also bring you condolences from the Commander-in-Chief, which I will share with this gathering now. This letter is dated October 14th, 2016, the White House, Washington, to the family of Kenneth Thompson, Brooklyn, New York. Michelle and I were saddened to learn of Ken's passing, and we extend our heartfelt condolences as you mourn his loss. Ken dedicated himself to the long and difficult pursuit of justice, and through his commitment to ensuring the words proclaimed in our founding documents were realized in the lives of people across New York, he made a powerful difference, one that will endure in you and in all those who are moved by the spirit that drove him and the example that he set. During this difficult time, I will continue holding you in my thoughts. It is signed, sincerely, Barack Obama. And it is true that we in law enforcement have lost one of our brightest lights, one of our stars, who had such promise for the future. Now, we all know of Ken's just tour de force as a district attorney, from his historic victory to his groundbreaking work. Ken literally changed the face of justice in Brooklyn. He changed what justice looked like. He changed what justice meant for so many people. And for the residents of the County of Kings, justice was more inclusive, it was more responsive, justice was real. It was real. He will always be remembered, and rightly so for that. I remember his vitality, I remember his intensity, and his commitment from the beginning of those days to justice, and most importantly, his connection and his commitment to the most vulnerable among us. And I say this as someone who was Ken's trial partner. He could connect with the witnesses who did not want to come forward in the Louima case. And we had some difficult days. We had some difficult witnesses. And then when he moved on, he could connect with people who had suffered the humiliating sting of discrimination and did not want to relive those moments. But Ken helped them do that to find justice. He could connect with the wrongfully convicted individual who had all but given up hope for a second chance. And for all of these people, for so many more, Ken was their bridge to justice. He was their pathway to redemption. He was the connection that for them made real the promise of the founding documents of this country. We have to carry on, because the years that should have been Ken's, he's given to us. He has bequeathed them to us. to use on his behalf. He's left us his cause. He's left us his mission. He's left us his time. So let's use that time. Let's honor that memory. And let's continue the work that Ken began.
Ken Thompson is such a great loss because he was such a great asset. He was a good man, he was an accomplished man, a family man, a young man, a God-fearing man, a visionary, and a leader and a gentleman. He was the child of a police officer, a resident of public housing, and an African-American man who grew up in New York City. His passion for justice didn't come from reading a book, but from living on the block. Ken surprised no one when he chose public service over private practice. He was the first African-American district attorney of Kings County. He made history. Ken knew that a great title on your door isn't important. What's important is the great things that you do for people. He knew that the problems we faced were complex, controversial, and deep, but he believed, as Martin Luther King said, the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at a time of challenge and controversy. We saw that when the U.S. Attorney's Office and Loretta Lynch and Ken took on the Abner Louima case, a case that had the audacity to accuse police officers of savage, brutal, despicable abuse. Abuse that was alleged to happen in a police station just a few miles from here, a building that was supposed to be the home of justice. It was a courageous act to bring that case. And Loretta and Ken were right. They won, and Ken went on and grew from there. From day one, Ken made it clear that he was going to be a different type of prosecutor. Yes, he was part of the justice system, but he wouldn't be complicit with the justice system. In fact, he was willing to criticize the system when he believed it was wrong. He was not a typical politician. He wasn't afraid to take on the powerful forces. He wasn't afraid to take on the special interests. He was there to make a difference. And he did. He was one of the most aggressive district attorneys in the country. And his mandate was different. While other prosecutors worked only to prove guilt, Ken's office also worked to prove innocence. And Ken was successful. Listen to this, in just 33 months, his office proved that 21 men and women, mostly black, Hispanic, and poor, were all falsely found guilty by our criminal justice system. Prosecutors around this state and prosecutors around this nation must now answer the question that if you really believe in doing justice and not just getting headlines and not just getting convictions, then why don't you recognize the inequities of the justice system and work for true justice like Ken Thompson did?
Ken Thompson was a fantastic federal prosecutor, a courageous civil rights lawyer, a dynamic district attorney, and he was also an undercover historian. And from time to time, I can say, Pastor, with some degree of ecclesiastic certainty, because I just so happen having the opportunity to see a copy of the Heavenly Journal. That's the paper of record from up above. And on the front page, there was a headline that said, D.A. Thompson arrives in heaven. Y'all know he was happy he made the front page. And I read the article. An article said that there was a 3-person welcoming committee when he arrived at the gates of heaven. Can I tell y'all about it? The first member of the welcoming committee was the legendary Congressman Adam Clayton Powell Jr. And you know, the encounter was described under a subheading that said a public servant who loved his people greets a public servant who... We're going to miss him. The curtain came down way too early. But I realized in life that it doesn't matter when the curtain comes down. What matters is what you do with your time on stage, and Ken Thompson had a starring role in the arena of Academy Award-winning performance in the arena of criminal justice. He was a good man, had a good family, ran a good office, had a good heart, did a tremendous amount of good. And when someone like that passes, many of us, as I've been pondering over the last few days, have to deal with that age-old question. Why do bad things happen to good people? And we know that it's happened before, and unfortunately, it will happen again. Martin Luther King Jr. died at age 39. Senator Robert Fitzgerald Kennedy died at age 42. Kenneth Paul Thompson, our DA, dies at age 50. Why do bad things happen to good people? I haven't been able to figure out an answer to that question, but I do know we still serve a good God, emancipator. And as I get ready to take my seat, the article then ended by saying that the welcoming committee took Ken Thompson before the throne of glory, where he kneeled before Almighty God, who looked at him and said, "You've been a good man, had a good family, ran a good office, had a good heart, did a tremendous amount of good work. Well done, thy good and faithful servant. Well done."